So, okay, thank you. So we weren't here last week, right? So we are here this week. So we're going to do just a short little, just kind of recap. We're over here. We're starting out. We've made it in the last year. We've made it quite a ways through Exodus, right? That I know. Is it hot in here? All right. So outside this door right here, okay, somebody, there's a right on the wall right there. There's the thermostat. You can kick it down, if you will, because I'm hot. I'm hot in here anyway. Yep. So anyway, so we made it through quite a ways through Exodus, right? No, not really. But we keep, there's a lot to learn, right? There's a lot to learn. So we're gonna. Yeah, that's right. So I've meant to think about that before we started this, but I did not.
I saw it this morning set up. I should.
Yeah, we should have changed that. So anybody can remember that. So we're gonna go over here to Exodus 5. We're gonna do a little recap, then we're gonna go on. I think that it should be a good study today. So where we are over here, we're in Exodus 5, and we're just doing the recap and in verse 3. And I don't really want to go, a lot through this, but I do want to remind us of where we were. They're asking for what? And when you're looking at Exodus 5 and verse 3, they're asking for a journey to go out and worship, right? That's what they want to do. They want to go 3 days out. They want to worship. They want to come 3 days back. He's not allowing them to do that, right? He's not allowing them to do that. He's saying, why am I going to let my people go out there? Why, these are my people. They're doing. So what was the first thing, just real quickly, we talked about 2 weeks ago about being pilgrims, right? Do we remember that? And I want to think about that. And I don't want to go into it, but as we go into this new year, right? What is a pilgrim? You're just passing through. What is a sojourner? You're just passing through, right? How much time in this past year have we spent? I mean, we were talking about it yesterday, just so focused on the rat race of, your job and your stuff here and everything that we're doing here. And we lose focus on the most important things, right? And what he's saying to us, what the Lord's saying to us, look, you're just pilgrims here. You're sojourners. You're just passing through, man. Don't put all your stake here. There's more to it than just here. How much do I get focused into making more money and having better things and having more? And then I look back over the year and I'm like, the year's gone by and what progress have I really made? What have I really done for the Lord? I need to really refocus. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. But then you have that Pharaoh saying, look, I'm not going to recognize your God because I don't really care about him, right? I don't know who he is. Why is he not wanting to recognize him as his God? Why is he not doing that? Because of his arrogance, right? And his pride, things like that. And I asked, do we recognize God for who he is, right? Or am I too arrogant? You could, we can all.
It's probably like, there's nobody of greater power than me, right?
That's what he was, yeah. And why do we do that? Do we do that with us? How do we do that? Do we recognize God in our lives? Or do I say, look, I don't, and we went over Proverbs 3:5-6, which is a great verse. Trust who? In who? Trust in myself? No, trust in God, right? Don't lean on your own understanding. You don't know anything. In the gist of things, we don't know a thing about what's going on in life. I'm telling you, I can't figure out how to make it down to the Walmart on my own. And I think I can figure out life, No, don't trust in yourself. Lean on God's understanding. Put everything in his hands and he's going to what? He's going to direct your path. He's going to show you how to go. As we go into the new year, right? Stop leaning on my understanding on what's going on and stop leaning on what I think is right and say, look, Lord, I'm going to let you lead my life this year. Right? Is that hard to do? Quite hard to do, right? Do I want to do that? No, because I'm arrogant, because I think I know best, right? My wife will tell you quickly, you don't know best, right? You don't know what's going on.
I don't think Pharaoh was arrogant so much. He didn't want to give up control.
Didn't want to give up control.
He didn't
Yep.
want to give up control over people. He knew, he recognized who their God was,
Right.
but he was afraid of giving up control to his. And that's the way we are. A lot of times we don't want to submit to God. That means we're not in control.
No, we don't want to give up control. That's right. Exactly, for sure. And then, so the third thing that we talked about, and then we'll move forward, he viewed the people as whose people? God and Pharaoh, Moses went in there and Aaron, they said, look, let God's people go.
He said they're my people.
And he said, look, these are my people doing my stuff. Why are they, why are you calling them your people? And how we talked about that was, how do we view people, right? And that's a big one. Do I view people for what I can get out of them? Do I only want to hang out with people that are gonna progress me in my, in who I am and what I am, and I can get something out of them? Or am I going to the people that are the lowest people, right? And reaching out to the people, yesterday when we were doing our hike, we went back up and picked up the people that were slower than the other people, right? Did we want to walk another 1.5 miles up there after that? Probably not, man. But why do you do that? Because you do that because that's what you're supposed to do. Why do we deal with people that are not in our same financial category, or our same, educational category, or our same race, or our same, right? We do it because that's what God calls us to do. We need to view people as worthy, right? Because how does God view us? I mean, that's a huge thing. How does God view us? Yeah. I mean, and if he did that to me, I'd be the least, right? I'd be out there and whatever. So, just kind of refocusing on what's going on. So as we move forward here, we're going to talk about and I think we're going to talk a little bit about worship. We're not going to talk about it first, but we will get there. I'm hoping that we will get there. We will get there. So let's go back over here to Exodus, okay? And as we look at, we're going to start in verse 6, okay? And we're going to read Exodus 5:6, and then we're going to talk about that. So the same day, now the same day is what? The same day as the people went and asked to go 3 days out, worship 3 days back. That same day, it says Pharaoh commanded the taskmasters of the people and their officers. So who are the taskmasters? Who are the officers? Do we know? The taskmasters are Egyptians. Those are the ones that are right under Pharaoh. The officers are actually Israelites or Hebrews. They're right over the people, but they have to answer to the taskmasters. Okay. So it says that same day, Pharaoh commanded the taskmasters of the people and their officers, saying, "You shall no longer give the people straw to make brick as before." Right. What were they doing? They were objects, right? They were just working. They were making him money. They were, making brick. They were building buildings. That's what they were doing. Right. And he was giving them the materials. Now he's saying, look, you're not going to get the materials anymore. He said, you're going to take that away from them. He says, as before, let them go and gather for themselves straw, right? He's saying you need to go get your own straw. Now that would be okay if he dropped the quota, right? Does he drop the quota? Doesn't drop the quota, man. He says, as before, let them go gather straw for themselves, and you should lay on them the quota of bricks which they made before. So he's saying, you shall not reduce it. So you're gonna, you want to go out and worship God, and you want to do this, and you have all this idle time. Well, I'll tell you what, then why am I providing, materials to build these bricks? You go get your own stuff, man. You've got plenty of time on your hands, I guess. Go get your own stuff. You shall not reduce it. They're idle, therefore they cry out, saying, let us go and sacrifice to our God. Let more work be laid on the men, that they may labor in it, and let them not regard false words. So what I was thinking about, why did he get so fired up? Why was Pharaoh so mad? Does that appear that he got fired up when they wanted to go worship? Yeah. And it says what? Let them not regard false words. What are the false words? And I was just thinking about this. What are the false words that he's talking about? Let them not regard, let them not pay attention to the false words. What does that mean? Anybody? The doubt.
The doubt where they took from coming in to not believing, where they were all just brought from. What were
they told? What were they told?
So the New Living Translation states, load them down with more work, make them sweat. That will teach them to listen to lies.
Right. So what are the false words? What are the lies that they're listening to? From Moses.
Yeah.
They're saying, look, Moses came in, right? These guys are doing their work. They're doing their stuff. And Moses comes in, Aaron comes in, and they say, hey, God's heard your cry. God's going to bring you out of this place. God's going to deliver you. We're going to go to Pharaoh, and we're going to say, hey, we need to go worship. We need to take time off. And he's like, why are you believing the lies that they're bringing in here? Why are you believing that your God is going to take you out of here? Why are you believing the things, and how do we relate that to our lives? I was just thinking about that. What does the world tell me when I tell, when I say, look, God is able to do everything. God can take care of me when it doesn't look like it's possible. God can take care of my finances, man. God can take care of whatever it is in your life. The Bible tells me that, right? I believe that. And the world tells me what? You're believing in faith. This is a crutch. You believe in this is a crutch. This just makes you feel better. This is a fable. This isn't true. This is all a lie, right? I mean, is that what they're telling me? Yeah. Well, what happens? Tell me, I believe in this, right? They say I'm there, it's a lie. What happens when they have a problem? What happens when somebody in the world
They come to you once you pray for them.
has an issue and says, hey, man, my son and my daughter were in this accident, man. Will you pray for them? And and I've said it before, which I probably shouldn't. But I said, why are you coming? You've busted me for however long that this is a bunch of junk and why I'm believing this and why I'm living this and why. And now you're coming to me for prayer. You don't believe in prayer. So why are you saying that to me? Let me tell you what, there is a place in us, right? We talked about this. Smith talked about this. There's a place in us, right? A void in us. We are looking for something. The world is looking, everybody is looking. And what fills that up? God fills that up, right? You can try to fill it with money. You can try to fill it with possessions. You could try to fill it with pornography. You could try to fill it with alcohol, with drugs. It doesn't matter what it is. There is a void that is in you, right? Everybody's looking for something. We know the truth, right? And so when they break down and things happen in their lives, they're coming back and they're saying, will you pray for me? Because they know there's got to be something more than what they're doing, right? And they're believing that. So, I was talking about when you think about the lies or the world thinking that we have lies. Have you ever heard, Sharon said it before, God's economy? Do you know what God's economy is? She wants a pastor to preach on that, which is, does that make sense to you? God's economy is not the same as the world's economy. And so somebody give me an example of that. Can anybody give me an example of that?
Well, I would say maybe, maybe this is stupid, like, our interpretation of tithing.
Interpretation of tithing. Why is that stupid? That's not
Well,
stupid.
No, I was just saying
Right.
because it's more material based,
Okay.
that our money really isn't, we're here for a purpose, so we're here to serve him in everything that we do.
Right.
Whether it's at work, whether it's with friends,
Right.
whether it's whatever.
So you take on tithing. God's economy tells me I can live better on 90% than I can on 100%. That's God's economy, right? God's economy tells me, love your neighbor as yourself. Don't hate the one that hates you, but love him more. All right. God's economy tells me the first is going to be last and the last is going to be first. Humble yourself, right? That's God's economy. That doesn't make sense to the world. They say that's a bunch of lies, man. But I'm telling you, if we would get ingrained in what God tells us and start believing that and living that, how much would it change our lives? As you look forward to this new year saying, God, I'm gonna fully sell out to you, man. I'm going to give the way I'm supposed to give. I'm going to love people the way I'm supposed to love. I'm going to serve you the way I'm going to humble myself the way I'm supposed to humble myself. And I'm going to see what happens in that. How much of a change do you think we'd have in our life? We'd have a big change, right? Anyway, so he's fired up about that. He's also fired up about that. And I wrote down here that he's fired up because it's not him, right? I mean, they're not worshiping him. They're worshiping another God, right? You think he's convicted at all? Could be, man. Saying, look, we're gonna live better. Maybe he's seen them as Moses and Aaron have come over and told them, God's coming to get us, and all of a sudden their faith built up, and he can see a change in their life, and they're like, man, maybe something to that, right? Maybe that's why does the world get fired up at us when we change, and do they feel convicted by the way we live, so they kind of put it on us a little bit harder. Look, you say you're this and you're living like this and you're happy and you're whatever, so I'm gonna make it more difficult on you. You never know what, but let me tell you what, you read over there and it's in Romans 2 or Romans 14:11 and Philippians 2:10, and we don't have to switch there, but it's saying what? Every knee shall bow. I'm telling you, you can call it lies if you want to call it. What does it say in the Bible? Every knee shall bow, every tongue shall confess, all of you will be on the judgment. We're all going to have to answer for it, whether or not we believe it, right? Focusing forward and saying, you know what, God, I'm going to believe that and I'm going to live that this year. I'm going to believe that you're in control of everything, right? That's good. So as we go forward right here, let's read the next section. It's not about lies, I'm telling you, man. The truth is the truth, right? Whether we want to believe it or not, doesn't really matter. And it says, in the taskmaster, the people and their officers went and spoke to the people saying, thus Sarah said, I will not give you straw. Now, when they're talking about, he's fired up about this and he's not giving them straw because they are not worshiping him. So the question that we asked last week was, or 2 weeks ago, what was the question that I asked the class? Can you remember? Can you remember?
Yeah.
What is true worship? Okay. They're upset because of worship, right? So I asked, what is true worship? And I also asked, is worship crazy? Is some worship not good? Is it not? Is that true? Is that true?
It's honoring to God.
What do we know about that?
As long as it's honoring God and it's not taken out of the way.
It's not honoring God. Is it a waste of time?
Nope,
Is my worship a waste of time?
nope.
Okay,
Not God's kind.
not in God's economy, right? So let's look at that, because I want you to, and this is what I want to focus on for the new year coming up. How do we worship? How do we worship? And is my worship a waste of time? We did on whoever was here on Wednesday night, this last Wednesday, right? It was the question and we were praying about this, and it was, and I'm trying to find where that is in here. God, give me the confidence, and then praying out of that. Give me the confidence to have boldness this year. Give me the confidence to be a witness, whatever that looks like, right? But what is false worship? Because there is false worship, and I'm telling you what, worship can be a waste of time, right? And I want to talk about that. Let's go over here, and because you think, well, I can't, but if it's in our, if we're worshiping something different than what we're supposed to, it can be a waste of time. Matthew 15. Let's go over here. We're going to go a couple things on this, because what I don't want you to do, and what I don't want to do in this upcoming year, I don't want to waste my time.
Don't worship yourself.
I don't want to worship and do all these things and really just do it for myself, man. Because if you think about it, if you think back on this last year, right? How much did we worship ourselves, or how much did we waste our time, or how much did we do true worshiping? Oh, I guess we could tell as we read this. Let's go over to Matthew 15:8. Who are the scribes and the Pharisees? This is Matthew 15:1, but who are the scribes and the Pharisees? Do we know? Who are the scribes and the Pharisees? Religious leaders. Those are the ones that everybody looked up to. Those are the priestly people. Those are the ones that everybody tried to follow. Right? Were they truly worshiping God, or did they truly worship themselves? Themselves, right? Did they think they were worshiping God? I guess they might have thought that. I don't know if they thought, you get so far into something and all of a sudden you believe the lie you're living, right? And I think they were worshiping the law.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Here we go. Matthew 15:1. Then the scribes and the Pharisees who were from Jerusalem, these are the ones that people are following. These are the ones that people are looking to. So came to Jesus saying, why do your disciples transgress the tradition of the elders? They do not wash their hands when they eat bread. Okay. Saying, look, they're not washing their hands. They're eating bread. We've got a commandment. We've got a law that says you need to wash your hands before you eat bread. So why are they doing that, man? They're not following the elders, right? What was the response the Lord had for them? He answered them, why do you also transgress the commandment of God because of your tradition? What is the only thing that we need to follow? What is the only thing that we need to follow? You've got the 10 commandments, right? You've got believing in Jesus. Those are the things we need to follow. Do I need to follow when somebody out here tells me, because this is what they did, right? They had like 900 plus laws that they followed, right? So when somebody tells me, Chad, you got a tattoo, man, you can't have a tattoo, right? You can't have a bald head. You should have a head that have hair. You can't have hair too long. You can't wear pants like this. You can't, right? Is that what people are doing? And do people make us? Have you ever been to a church that doesn't really follow the Lord, but they really follow what they put in place for laws and say, look, they did this because they were saying, if you don't follow all these things up here, then you'll never make it. You'll never make it to heaven. You got to, and they're trying to lift themselves up so that they look better than everybody else, right? That's why they're doing that.
Once we got saved, once we get saved and are saved, we're no longer under that.
We're not under the law. We're under the
We're under
commandments of the
grace.
Lord, and we're under Jesus, under grace, right? Mercy. It says, so he says to them, why do you transgress the commandments of God? Because of your tradition. For God commanded, this is just an example. God commanded, saying, honor your father and mother. He who curses your father and mother, let him be put to death. In the 10 commandments, what does it say? Honor your father and mother that you may what? Live a long life, right? If this were true, right, I probably would have killed my kids by now. If, right, just putting that out there, man. You take that where you want to take it, man. But if that were true today, you'd have a lot less kids, right? It says that you may, and it says that honor your father and mother, and he who curses father and mother, let him be put to death. Okay, so that's your kids. It says, but you say, whoever says to his father and mother, whatever profit you might have received from me as a gift. They're saying, look, you're saying that whatever you've done for your parents is a gift, and you should honor me because of that. That's what he says. And there's no need to honor his father or mother, thus you have made the commandment of God of no effect by your tradition. You've put your laws above God's laws and made that the standard. That's what it says. Do we do that? Tell me, do we do that? Yeah, we do that. I put my values on things on other people and expect them to live up to that. And if you're not living up to that, then you're no good. Right? Is that what we do? If you're not meeting my standard, it doesn't matter what my standard is. It's all about God, right? As we move forward, because I can get myself worshiping myself, that you're not meeting my standard, so I'm just going to toss you out. No, that's not what it's about. You can follow. We were talking yesterday. It's about you don't change the word, right? You don't change the word. But you may need to change the delivery of the word. It's a different society. There's a lot of churches and a lot of places that say, look, no, you can't have worship music. No, you can't have this. No, you can't turn the lights down. No, you can't, because you're not doing what God tells you. That is not in the Bible, right? That's not in the Bible. Following God. So anyway, moving down here, it says, you hypocrites. And here we go. Verse 8. These people draw near to me with their mouth. This is what I want you to think about. What is worship? And is worship a waste of time? They draw near to me with their mouth and honor me with their lips, right? I'm saying this, I'm praising God. I'm up there singing, and I'm doing whatever, and I'm honoring God by my lips and my mouth and what I say. And it says, but their heart is far from me. And I want you to think about that. That's the theme that I want to go on as we go into the new year. I really want to go on that. What is it about? Is it about the way that I look, or the way that I dress, or the things that I say, or the way that I sing? It's about my heart, right? What is it that defiles a man? What comes out of their heart?
Well, it's your actions.
Right.
It's what you say and do, when you proclaim something and then you turn around and you're
Sure.
saying other
Yep.
stuff that contradicts it.
It says, but their heart is far from me, and in vain they worship me, teaching as doctrines the commandments of men. Okay, switch over to Matthew 23. And there's a bunch, there's a whole lot of, I'm just going to read a couple of these. Here, look at this tab. Get that in focus. Okay, so as you go over here in Matthew 23, and we're going to look at just a couple different examples of what they're doing false worshiping. Okay, what they're doing false. And look at verse 14. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites. Do you want to be called a hypocrite? Do I want to be called a hypocrite? Are we hypocrites? We are, right? We're all hypocrites, man. And some are maybe less hypocrites than others, but we're all hypocrites. It says, for you devour widows' houses. What does that mean? Let me tell you, does anybody know what that means? You scribes and Pharisees devour widows' houses. Widows, huh?
Isn't it once their husband died, they kick the wives out and they're just kind of roaming?
Once the husbands die, the scribes and Pharisees may go in there and they may say, okay, you need to give this amount to the church or to our cause to serve God, right? Or you need to donate your house to the cause of the ministry for God to bless you. And he's saying, you're taking advantage of these widows and these people that are less, right? Do we do that? What about people that are sending out a vial of holy water? Right? Or whatever, a piece of cloth from the robe of Jesus. Right? And you send me $500 and I'm going to send you this piece of cloth and you're going to be blessed because of that. Right? That's stupid. Right? That's stupid. That is not, but that's what he's saying. You devour widows' houses for a pretense, make long prayers. Therefore, you will receive greater judgment. You're speaking with your mouth. You're making me because what? You want to be seen of men. And there's your reward. You don't have a reward from me on that. It says down in verse 23. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you pay tithe of the mint and the anise and the cumin. That's saying, look, you're paying tithe. You're giving a tenth of the bay leaves that you have out here, or of the oregano that you have here, or this, and you're missing the whole weightier matter of the law, right? You're tithing down to the very, because you are following your own laws and your own commandments, but you're not following what God would have you to do. That is false worship. I can be giving 10%. I can be doing whatever. Does that matter if I'm not in my heart following God? Right? That's focusing in on what we're supposed to be doing. And it says, and have neglected the weightier matters of the law, justice, mercy, and faith. Okay. And then, so these are the verses that I really want you to think about. And then we'll move forward. It says, woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you cleanse the outside of the cup and dish, but inside there are full of extortion and self-indulgence. What's that saying, man? You ever been, man, I'm telling you, in home health, what I do, right? I go out to a lot of people's houses. Some are probably not as clean as I'd like them to be, or, what, I've seen a lot of stuff, man. And so I've got some people that'll pull something out and they're, hey, can I get you a cup of coffee? And I'm like, no. And do they pull it out anyway? Sure, they pull it out, man. I'm like, no, I really don't want to drink that. So I see the cup, right? Outside of that cup is clean, man. They hand it over to me to hold to pour coffee into. I look in that cup, I'm like, oh my goodness, man, you got chunks in that thing. And man, right? The cup looks good on the outside. And if I saw it in the cabinet, I think, man, that's a clean cup. I'll use that to drink out of, until I pull it down and I look on the inside of it and I say, oh my goodness, man, they missed the inside of that cup. Right? And he's saying, look, what you do, you cleanse the outside of the cup and the dish, but inside they are full of extortion and self-indulgence. You go to church and you shave your face and you shave your head and you dress nice and you put your cologne on, but your heart is full of evil and wickedness and you're doing that for a show, right? That's false worship. Over here it says in verse 27, woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you are like whitewashed tombs. What's a tomb? Where dead bodies are. What's a whitewashed tomb? A pretty one. That's right, a pretty tomb, right? Man, that tomb looks good, man. Well, it doesn't matter if it looks good on the outside or not, because what's inside it? Death, stink, nastiness, rottenness, right? That's what's inside it. And it says, which indeed appears beautiful outwardly, but inside full of dead men's bones and all uncleanliness. True worship is not presenting as I love God. True worship is in my heart, living a life that shows you really do love God. As I go forward into the new year, right? What is our goal going to be? The goal is going to be, look, I don't want to just look the part, right? I don't want to just say the right things, say the right prayers, man. I want to live a life inside that is pleasing to God first. And when you clean the inside of you up, what's going to happen to the outside? Then you're automatically going to be clean, right? It comes from the inside out. That's God's economy, right? That it comes from the inside out, not the outside in, right? The world tells you it's the outside, man, what you look like. No, God says it's the inside. It doesn't matter what you look like, right? Are there consequences to false worship? Are there consequences? So let's turn over and then we'll get on to what true worship is, right? So let's look over here at Matthew 7, because I don't know, as I'm talking, we're talking to a bunch of people, right, online, in class, everywhere else. I don't know how many people are just acting the part, just acting the part. And I'm telling you, man, it doesn't do you any good to act the part, right? It doesn't, online, in the other room, in here, it doesn't do us any good to act the part. It doesn't matter if Oscar thinks that I'm a good Christian. No disrespect, but who gives a rip what Oscar thinks? It doesn't matter, right? I mean, it's what God thinks and what God sees. And I'm telling you, we are so focused on pleasing other people and doing other things and looking the part that we are not focusing on what God cares about. I'm telling you, and I don't want to be that person this upcoming year. I want to be true to God. I want to follow God. I want to truly love God and get better in that. I'm telling you that has to be the focus this year. Has to be. So look over here. We're going to look at Matthew 7 and 22. Okay. And this is the consequences, right? It says, not everyone who says to me, right, Lord, Lord, shall enter the kingdom of heaven, but he who does the will of my Father in heaven. Okay. Not everybody. You've got how many people here in the church that think they're doing right for God, and God's going to look at them in judgment day and say, you're not on my list, man. That should make you check up.
Yeah.
I mean, that should make you check up. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in your name, spoken with our lips and our mouth, right? Cast out demon in your name, done works and done things for you, right? And done many wonders in your name. And then I will declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who practice lawlessness. Just because you're doing and looking the part doesn't mean you're doing what God would have you to do, right? That's what true worship is doing what you're supposed to in the heart, from the heart, because of the heart, because you love God. Okay, let's move forward. As we look at that, we're going to go to what is, so tell me, what is true worship? What does worship mean? What is the definition of worship? What does anybody?
When it's from your,
Go ahead.
it's when it's coming from your heart, when you're actually meaning it, like you're feeling it.
When you're feeling it, you're meaning it,
Given from yourself.
given from yourself, your relationship with the Lord. I wrote down just a couple things: adoration, respect, honor, devotion. Right? And the question is, what are we worshiping? I want you to think. That car sitting out there, that Hyundai Ioniq, that I think is just right, man. I can shine the rims up on that bad boy. Rev up the electric motor in that thing, man. Come on, man. You're gonna worship that. What is it that meets the standard of our worship? Nothing, huh?
It's what you give your attention.
It's what you give your attention. You can look at I'm telling you, and a good checkpoint is you look back over the last year and you check your wallet and you check your finances and your checkbook. You check your time, your attendance at church. You check your study time with God. You check the amount of, whatever you did on the volunteer side and what you did for God. You can quickly see what you worship. If I'm at work all the time and I'm just because I want to make more money to get bigger things to do, well, then you might worship your job, right? I'm right there, man. I'm working 12 hours a day, man. I've tried to think about that this upcoming year, that how can we talked about it yesterday? How can I cut back on worshiping the world to get more stuff, right? I used to wear a t-shirt, man, back in the day, man. And I think they still got that mug out today, man. That is like a pink, like a peach t-shirt, man. I thought I was cool, man. He who dies with the most toys wins. You ever heard that? Man, I wore that thing. I'm like, I'm going to be a big dog someday. I'm going to have all this stuff. And I'm looking at it going, you're an idiot, man. That doesn't mean nothing, right? True worship, right? True worship. What is it? So let's turn over. We're going to look at this, okay? We're going to look at it. True worship, Romans 12. Romans 12. We're going to go to just verse 1 in Romans 12. Let's talk about it. I want you to think about this. Romans 12. I beseech you, therefore, brethren. This is verse 1. Who's writing this? Who's writing Romans? Paul. He's writing it to the brothers, right? He's writing it to the people, to the Christians, he's writing it to them, right? I beseech you. What does it mean to beseech you? What is that? Urge, beg, man. I'm pleading with you. Look, I'm pleading with you to do this. To do what? Well, we're going to read it. It says, I beseech you, I plead with you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God. I'm going to read through this whole thing. We're going to talk about it. By the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable to God, which is your reasonable service. Okay. And do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. Okay. Now this is 1 through 2 are verses of what true worship really means. Okay. So I beseech you, therefore, brethren, I beg you, I urge you, by the mercies of God. Why am I going to worship God? Why is he the only one that's worthy of my worship? What does it say right there? Because of what? God has been what to me? Yeah, man. Listen, how merciful has God been to me? I want you to think about that. All the junk that I've done in my life, right? All the stuff that I've been through, all the ways that I remember before I got saved, man, I just talk smack about God, and I'd say all kinds of stuff. And you believe that? I'm just like everybody else, man. You believe that, and you're just, you got a crutch, man. You're weak. You're this. What's God? What's he could have smite, boom, taken me out then, man. But he had mercy on me and said, I got a better plan for you, right? Everybody in this room, man, God has been so merciful to me. The world that we worship, right? What happens, or the people that we're drinking with or drugging with or going out doing whatever. Tell me what happens when I don't have any money. You're done, man. I don't have any time for you at all, right? What happens for when I'm out there and I change my attitude on doing certain things? They're like, man, I don't want you in my group anymore, man. What about God, man? When I fall back and I fall out and I backslide and I get out in the wrong path and I'm doing the wrong things. And what about him? Does he say I'm done with you, Chad, man? I'm just dropping you out. You're done. No, man. He says, God, I love you, Chad.
That's true. People start coming back into your life because you're falling away.
They'll come back to you when you're falling away, but God never does, man. I'm telling you, I can take 10 steps in the wrong direction. And how many steps do I have to turn to come back to God? Just one, man. And he's standing right there saying, I never left you, man. I'm right here with you. And this is where we're at. It says, I beseech you, brethren, by the mercies of God, because of God's mercy, because of what he's done in your life, that you present. What does it mean to present? Present your body a living sacrifice. What does it mean to present my body as a living sacrifice? A living offering, right? A living offering. How do we do that? Do we present our bodies as a living sacrifice? Right? You can go out in this F3 that we did yesterday. And these guys do this, lifting up logs and doing, whatever they do, man, crazy stuff that they do. They are sacrificing their bodies, right? I mean, I'm lifting this rock and I'm carrying it 2 miles and I'm doing squats with it. I'm sacrificing my body, right? What does it mean to be a living sacrifice for Christ? To do his, look, I am willing, Lord, to give it all for you. I give a lot to this. I go work out. Whatever, man. A living sacrifice to Christ. Look, I'm putting you above all, and I'm going to live my life. And if I have to give up whatever I have to give up, then I'm going to give it up because I'm going to sacrifice to you. Give myself away. I want you to turn over, and this is a good example. Look over in Genesis 22. We've all read this, but I think this is just a great example. Genesis 22 of a living sacrifice. Okay. Genesis 22 verse 9. Now this is Abraham. We know Abraham is the father of our faith, right? And we know that he was promised what? What was he promised? Look, I'm gonna build generations, man. They're gonna be the number of the stars, the sand of the sea. I'm gonna build all this stuff. He's like, look, man, I don't even have a kid, right? I don't even have a kid. So in his old age, he has a son, right? Isaac, right? How valuable to Abraham do you think Isaac is? Because he's the one, man. He's the promise, right? This is a living sacrifice. Waited so long, man. God, are you going to answer prayers? And God answers that prayer. Not long after he answers the prayer, it says right here, if you look at Genesis 22, okay? And it says, Abraham rose early, and you can go through the whole thing. But up here in verse 2, it says, take your son, your only son, Isaac, whom you love, go to the land of Moriah and offer him there as a burnt offering. What? I'm going to offer my son, the promised son, as a burnt offering. What does it mean, a burnt offering? I'm going to put that mug on the coals and I'm going to burn them up and offer them. Right? How do you think Abraham feels about that? Look, Lord, I love you, but I don't know if I love you that much.
Yeah.
Right? Think about your life. Lord, I love you, man, but I don't know if I love you enough to do this. That's your living sacrifice. Whatever it is that you don't think you can give away or you can do without, giving that to God, that is your living sacrifice. Okay. So it says here, he says, I want you to offer him as a burnt offering. Did he question that? Didn't question it, man. You believe that? Didn't question that. And it says down here in verse 6, so Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering, laid it on Isaac, his son, took the fire in his hand. But right up above that, it says, and Abraham said to his younger son, stay here with the donkey. This in verse 5, the lad and I will go yonder and worship. We will come back to you. Abraham took the wood and the burnt offering and laid it on Isaac, his son. He took the fire in his hand and a knife, and the two of them went together. Okay. But Isaac spoke to Abraham, his father, and said, my father. And he says down here, look, I see the fire, the wood. Where is the land for the burnt offering? Right. This is Isaac carrying his own wood for his own sacrifice. And Abraham is there with him saying, God, I love you enough that I'm willing to offer my son up for you, man. And I love you enough that I know that you are able to take care of whatever it is that I need taken care of. Is that a sacrifice? That's a sacrifice. So as you go down a little bit further, and it says, then it came to the place of which God had told him. Abraham built an altar there and placed the wood in order and bound Isaac, his son. I can't even, you look at this, you think these are just stories, man. That's me taking out my son and literally binding him up and putting him on a bed of rocks, ready to burn him up. Okay, for God. And it says, and laid him on the altar upon the wood. Abraham stretched out his hand, took the knife to slay his son. And all of a sudden down at 12, it says, do not lay your hand on the land or do anything to him. For now I know that you fear God, since you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me. And take him off the altar. And that is his point where he reckoned with God and said, you know what, God, I'm willing to give it all for you. Right? I'm willing to be that living sacrifice for you. What about you think about Jesus, right? Think about that, man. He's in heaven, right? Looking down on us, a bunch of knuckleheads saying, these people, they're not worthy of anything, man, right? And God the Father says, look, I'm sending you down there to be the sacrifice for them, right? That's the living sacrifice. Live that life. I want you to go all the way to the cross. I'm gonna put you on that cross, and I'm gonna sacrifice you on that cross for their sins. That's a sacrifice that's the mercy that he had for me to give me away, right? That amazes me. I'm telling you that.
In verse 5, he said, he had a lot of faith because he said, we will come. Right
We will
back."
come back. That's right. Look, one way or another, man, we're coming back. God promised me this. Look in your life what God's promised us. Do we look at the Bible and study the Bible? Do we see what God's promised us? Do we have enough faith to live it out?
If you believe it.
I mean, right?
It's like you either believe it fully. or you
You
don't.
believe it fully or you don't. Right. I was saying yesterday, it says that I would have lost faith if I did not believe that I would see it in the land of the living, right? You talk about your kids, you talk about things going on in your life, and you say, look, my faith is strong because I believe that I'm going to see your promises be fulfilled in the land of the living while I'm still alive, while I'm still here to see it, right? I have that kind of faith. So it says a living sacrifice, okay? Holy, acceptable to God. Now what? This is the part which is your reasonable service, right? Reasonable duty. When I give 10%, right? Man, God, you believe I'm giving 10%, man, to you and your cause. Man, I'm coming in here on Sunday morning. I'm going to church. I'm going to Bible study. I'm doing that, man. Lord, you really should be blessed that I'm doing that for you, right? You believe last Saturday, man, I went to the soup kitchen and I served homeless people, food. Man, Lord, I'm like top notch in your book, right? Is that the way we think? I'm telling you that's the way we think, man. What does this say? You present your body as a living sacrifice. This is your reasonable, not extraordinary, right? This is not above and beyond, man. This is just your reasonable duty. This is just what you should do because I am so good to you. This is not anything about going above and beyond, right? Presenting everything to me. That's just reasonable service. That's hard to, because I think that, and what does it mean to present as a living sacrifice? Do not be conformed to this world, right? What does conform to this world mean? What does it mean when I conform to this world?
You do what the world does.
Yeah, I fall and I fall into line with this world. And I say, well, I can kind of, change a little bit over here and I can do this or, whatever the world's doing, I'm going to do that, being conformed to this world. Is it hard to not be conformed to this world? How much pressure does the world put on us? Your phone and your internet and your Snapchat or whatever it is that you're on, that is being conformed to this world, right? Being driven by this world, changed by this world, right? That's hard to do. I mean, right? I don't know. I don't want to be conformed to this world, right? But it's easy to do.
It's about the inputs, right? You continuously feed what the world gives. You take what the world gives you, then you're going to be more conformed like the world versus the word.
And how much do we do that? Look at your stuff. How much time do you spend on your phone and on the whatever versus spending in the Bible?
People say that we're weak because we follow God, but not we're stronger than it because it's weak to fall.
That's right. That's exactly right. It's weak to fall and it's harder to lead, right? Conforming to this world is weakness. I mean, it is. It's easy to conform to this world. It's hard to stand up and say, you know what, man? I'm going to take a stand and I'm going to be a living sacrifice for God. As I go forward this year, I'm going to be a living sacrifice. I'm not going to do what everybody else is doing. I want people to see me and say, you know what? Not only does Chad say this and teach this, but I see him living a life that is worthy. And I want to follow that, right? That's our goal, right? To get people to follow what we're doing, to follow God, not follow me, but follow God.
Yeah,
Right?
there's something, an insight in the translation I have, and it says in Genesis 22, it's the first time that love, worship, and obey are all in the same context.
Right.
And I just thought that was really cool because that in that context of what was going on, it's trying to be.
Love, worship, and obey. That's right. It is your reasonable service. Do not be conformed to this world. There's always a but, right? But be transformed, right? Transformed. What does it mean to be transformed? You think of a transformer, right?
I mean, it's like turned into a different.
Yeah, man. That little mug that's walking, that big robot, right? Walking like, and all of a sudden he flips down and turns into a Corvette, man, and buzzes off. Right?
Ionic, I mean, you never know.
Right, whatever. Right? And he might turn into that Ionic. You don't know what he's going to turn into, man. That is being transformed. That is changing what I am. Right? Being transformed. And it says, how am I transformed? You don't just, it isn't something that all of a sudden I'm just going to be transformed. That I'm just out here and I'm cruising and it's just going to, I'm just transformed. I'm a new person. No, that's not how it works. It says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. What does it mean to renew your mind? Change your way of thinking. How do I renew my mind? How do I renew my mind? Reading the word. Who am I? Do I get molded by the people that I'm with? Do our kids get molded by the people that they're with? Right? So being transformed by the renewing of my mind, right? That means that I can't hang out with the people that are out here doing all this stuff that they shouldn't be doing. Because what happens then? I'm transformed into what they are doing. Right? I can't get over and with this group, that whatever it is, I need to get with people. Why do we come in here and get with you guys? And why do we do that? So that I can transform my mind to follow Christ. So I can be like-minded with other people. That I can call up and say, you know what, I'm really struggling in this and I need some help in that. I need you to hold me accountable in whatever it is that you're doing, right? We were out yesterday, man, I'm telling you. We're at the Bojangles, all right? What is one of my number one things that fast food, bam. Yeah, okay. So we go over, we did this hike, right? Where we're hungry, right? So we just did this hike, man. We're going over here to the Waffle House, man. Roll up to the Waffle House. Well, no, man, they got all the seats up, no place in the wall. We're like, well, we'll go to Bojangles over here. Okay. Sounds good. So we roll in the boat, like two people in front of us, whatever, standing in line, right? This lady, she's the only one that is serving the food, fixing the food, doing what, and then coming over and taking the orders for the other food. And then she'd take one order, go back, fix it, serve it, make it, come back. And I'm sitting there and I always wear my representing Jesus shirt as I go out. Why do I do that? Why do I do it? And I told Marcus, I said, because I need to look down and and I looked over him, you can see, he's like, oh man, testimony, man, testimony. I'm like, oh. I looked down, representing you, okay, Jesus, I'm representing you, right? And I'm saying, I'm not going to lose my, right? Do not be transformed to the world, man. It is so easy to get caught up in the rat race of what you're doing, right? And then you lose everything. Once I lose my testimony, if I'm in there and lose my testimony about, again, all these guys and all these people, yeah, that's all of us. Oh, time. I should have gone back there and helped. Yeah, you see me rolling back there and helping her. That would have been good. Anyway, I'm getting the time signal. So I'm going to finish reading this and then we'll be done. Okay. It says, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is the good and acceptable and perfect will of God. You may prove it through what? Through your life. You may prove it through the way that you're living, not just the things that I'm saying, not just that I'm saying whatever. I can say anything sitting up here in front of you guys I want to say, right? I can make a long prayer out there and sir, I can sing a song and praise the Lord. I can prove it by the transformation of your life, of what you're doing, by being renewed in Christ, right? So as we go forward this year, what has got to be the focus in our life? That I'm gonna transform myself into following Christ, doing what he would have me to do, not just in word, right? Not just in my mouth, but in the way that I live. I'm gonna put God first, right? I'm gonna put my family second, right? My wife second, family third, everything else after that, right? Doesn't matter what it is, man. That is what we need to do. Got to do it by standing the word. So let's see next. Okay. So next week, we're going to talk about, Pharaoh getting fired up and punishing them. Right. And I want you to, this is where we never get anywhere, man. But we learn a ton, man, but we don't get, I learn a ton. I want you to think about mercy. Okay. That's what I want you to think about. Mercy. What did Pharaoh do? Pharaoh threw it on him, right? And he said, look, man, you're going to go out, get your own straw. You're going to make your own brick. You're going to keep the same quota. I don't give a rip what it takes. And I'm going to beat you if you don't, right? How merciful am I in my life, right? He showed no mercy, right? As a Christian, how am I showing my kids mercy? Am I showing my wife mercy? Am I showing the world mercy, or am I just a prick, right? With no better, really, right? I want you to think about that mercy. And I want you to think this week, how can I be merciful, right? When it comes against me, how can I be merciful? That's not pulling the gun out of the back seat of the car and saying, you want to step in front of my Hyundai? Then I'll tell you what, no. Right? We don't do that stuff, right? We're merciful. Anyway, I got to quit. My wife, I could see her over there, give me the signal. So let's pray and then we're going to quit, okay? Father, we do thank you for this time. Lord, as we move forward into this new year, I pray that you would help us to truly worship you. Lord, that we would offer ourselves as a living sacrifice, right? That we would be transformed, that we would be focused on you, that we would love you above everything else. Lord, I'm praying for that you would give us a great year. I thank you so much for the people in class, people online, in the other room, just everything that you're doing for us, this church, and just the way that you have just given yourself for us. Lord, we thank you so much for that. I do pray that you would help us to have a great day. Lord, we love you. We praise you. We thank you. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.